Perez. I'm a student at the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, under the Charlton College of Business. I'm an accounting major. Shout out to everybody in the accounting major. Today I will be talking about some key points and some key ideas from Earl Perry Charlton from this book right here, The Charlton Story. It's a great book to read. Basically talk about his life and how he built his fortune, his integration into 5 and 10 cent store, and how he gave back to the community, and how his money is still being used for charity, along the New England area. To first start off, Earl Perry Charlton was born in Chester, Connecticut on June 19th, 1863. His parents were James D. Charlton and Lydia Ladd. His father was a blacksmith. Earl had 2 siblings, John and Mary. He was determined to become a merchant rather than pursuing his father's trade. He was not interested in blacksmith, being a blacksmith. He was interested in in the business of being a merchant and an entrepreneur, And 1880, he moved to Boston and never returned to Connecticut, and became what is known as a drummer or a traveling salesman for Thomas C. Newell, a distributor of pots, pans, and windows accessories. And they ran a pretty big territory all the way from New England to New York. He worked there for 8 years, and as a drummer, he traveled up and down the territory, making sure the products were supervising the products and making sure the products were being sold. And one of these trips up and down New York, I believe, he met Seymour Knox and possibly Frank and Charles Woolworth. Frank and Charles Woolworth, they had developed a store, several stores. They failed a couple of times. Just trying to sell products, they failed a couple of times, mainly because everything in the store was priced at 25 cents. It didn't have a variety of prices. So Frank Woolworth came up with the idea of changing the prices, dropping them. He dropped them low a bit from 25 cents. They became a 5 and 10 store. And back in those days, the merchandise and all the products that were sold were behind the counter, and you really had to bother the person who was in charge of that counter so you could take a look at the products. That quickly changed and started putting the products on shelves so people could take a look at them by hand and have a good look at them. And they changed the prices of the stores, and they called it the 5 and 10 store. It was an instant hit. After a while, Charlton had saved several $100s, and on December 13, 1889, he formed a partnership with Seymour Knox and 5 and 10 store business. Basically, they became really good partners and really good friends. And they decided to open a 5 and 10 store on February 22nd, on 1890, on South Main Street in Fall River. It was an instant hit, and throughout the time of the partnership, they managed to open 4 stores. Yep. After a while, on 1896, on New Year's, which is pretty sad, in New Year's on 1896, they decided to go on their own. Knox went his way, and so did Charlton. Through the 4 stores that they had opened, Charlton kept 3 of them, the ones in Hartford, New Britain, and Connecticut, while Knox kept the one in Lowell, Mass. By the 1900s, Charlton owned his own company, so he did expand. He went on his own and expanded. He owned his own company and opened 9 stores in New England. Um, Through this opening, he had a lot of competition in New England, so he saw this big opportunity to expand his company, up to Canada and in the west of the United States at that time. You know, by with the 9 stores that he expanded, plus the 3 that he had from when the 3 that he gained from the partnership with Knox, he had 12 stores. Out of his 12 stores, he sold 9 to Frank Woolworth and started opening stores at a breathtaking speed. So once he sold these 9 stores to Frank Woolworth, he was up there in the competition and started just opening stores, a really, a really breathtaking speed. By he expanded west and north to Canada, and by 1912, Earl Pearl Charlton and Company owned 53 stores. In 1911, he merged with Frank Woolworth and 4 others that were in the 5 and 10 stores. So it was F.W. Woolworth, F.W. Kirby, S.H. Knox, and C.S. Woolworth. So he basically joined the competition and they made it into one store, the F.W. Woolworth, and Company. It was a huge store at the time. It was probably one of the best companies around the world. They merged on January 1st, 1912, and the new F.W. Woolworth and Company had a total of 596 stores. That was including all the companies, all 5 founders of that company that merged together. They all came up with a total of 596 stores, 565 at the United States, and 31 stores in Canada. The merger was to be capitalized at $65 million. $50 million in preferred stock and $50 million in common stock. They were really wealthy individuals at that time. The founders, F.W. Woolworth, F.W. Kirby, S.H. Knox, C.S. Woolworth, and Earl Perry Charlton, they were gave fixed salaries. F.W. Woolworth, which basically became